Breaking news in a CBS Sports HQ. You can make room amongst the big bats. Miguel Cabrera, now the 28th member of the 500 home run club. There you see it in the 6th inning of Sunday's game against Toronto. Miggy launched one over the right center field wall off Steven Matz. Cabrera, a surefire Hall of Famer, also right in the neighborhood of another career milestone as he inches closer to 3,000 hits. Only 6 players in history have ever become members of both of those elite clubs. Taking a look at Miggy by the numbers, that resume does not lack a whole lot. Number 1 came back on June 20th of 2003, and here we are on August 22nd of 2021, number 500 off the bat of Cabrera. Interestingly enough, home runs number 100 and 200 both came on August 23rd. We are just one day off of that number as Miggy makes it 500 here on Sunday. Joining us now with more on the momentous occasion, the man who made the call-up of the then fresh-faced 20-year-old rookie, host of Nothing Personal, our guy David Samson. David, I'll ask you to take us down memory lane here in a moment, but first, let's address the present. The inevitable occurs. Miguel Cabrera, now a member of the 500 home run club. Your initial reaction is what?
I'm just happy for baseball. I think it's interesting that it happens on a day when they're playing where the Little League World Series is, and Miggy plays like a child. He loves the game so much, and that's what baseball needs and wants. He's such a great ambassador, and we knew just from the beginning what his career would look like. Can you imagine projecting that he'd be one of 28 people to get 500 home runs? It was just a matter of health in our minds when we called him up originally. He's got that kind of talent.
Well, at the time of his debut, Miggy was the second youngest player to ever play in the bigs, then at 20 years old. You know it's rare that when a player's introduced to us with that type of lofty expectation, the way Cabrera was then put in front of us, and then they not only live up to that expectation, but they exceed it. How do you characterize this nearly 20-year stretch of consistent all-star level play?
Well, one thing that I would talk about with Miguel all the time is what was his goal. When we won the World Series in '03, he wanted to win multiple World Series championships. That was his first thing. And he thought, hey, we did it my first year. We'll do it again and again and again. And then we talked about just being consistent day in, day out, month in, month out, and then year in and year out. And to do that, you had to be aware of your changing body. You had to be aware of Father Time and the preparation required to play every day in the big leagues. And Miguel understood the path in front of him, and he knew what he wanted to be. He wanted to be the greatest of all time. And I'll tell you, he's done a pretty good job of putting himself in that conversation.
Yeah, no doubt a lofty pursuit, and here he is among some of the greatest power hitters in the game. Could join an even more elite list when he gets to that 3,000 hit threshold, becoming just the 6th player to have both 500 and 3,000. I want you to walk us back to those days, the young man that you knew at 20 years old. Obviously, you tell us about the promise he had as a professional, but what about on a personal note? Can you introduce us to the young man that had so much promise?
So here's what's happened throughout his career. When we called him up, we had known in our minds that we weren't going to call him up until June because we did not want him to be eligible for arbitration a year early, because we knew this was someone who was going to put up major numbers, and we wanted to have him for as long as possible and, of course, for as cheaply as possible. So we bring him up, and his first game, it was against the Tampa Bay Rays. And he came up, he walked into a locker room of a team that had started to play better. We didn't know we were going to win the World Series at the time, but he came in and he was inserted right into the middle of the lineup. And we're talking about a kid, he was 20 years old, surrounded by veterans, but he had this presence, a presence that said, I belong. And then he was able to back up that presence with performance. Plenty of young players come up saying, I belong, because they're used to being the best every stage, every step of the way. But he came in with this, he wasn't cocky. His attitude was, I belong here, and I'm going to help this team win, and I'll play whatever position you want me to play. Third base, fine. Hit cleanup in the World Series, no problem. You want me to play in the outfield? I can do that too. And when you look at his 500th home run today, look at the tape, look at the swing, look at sort of opposite field where it went, sort of the gap in right center field, and that's what he has been doing since 2003. It truly is remarkable.
It has been something to watch, a spectacle here. We're taking a look at the video once again, and David, you jog memories of, my childhood and watching this guy just tear up ball clubs across the league. Making his debut in 2003, I think, is important as well. As baseball was coming out of one of its darker eras there with the steroid implications and everything that had gone along with it. We watch a string bean of a 20-year-old come up, immediately have an impact on the game, and then develop in front of our eyes to get 500 home runs the right way. That's got to mean something as well.
It does, and some people would say, look at his body in 2003 and then look at his body in 2021. He's totally different. He's much bigger. Could there be something going on? The answer is no. He's just older now. He was a 20-year-old, and I wouldn't call him scrawny. I would certainly call him much thinner. But we talked about coming out of the steroid era, and I recall talking about Roger Clemens in the World Series when he really didn't know who Roger Clemens was, and he hit that big home run in Game 4 of the 03 World Series. It didn't matter to Miguel who we were playing, who was pitching against him. He had a very interesting approach, didn't really need to study tape. He just saw the ball and hit the ball in a way that so very few players can do. And he had this understanding of the type of preparation it would take. It doesn't mean he didn't act like a 20 and a 21-year-old or a 22-year-old, because remember, these are young adults who all of a sudden have money and they want to enjoy themselves. But one thing he never lost perspective on is what he wanted to do between the lines and the impact he wanted to have going forward in the game. And he's delivered. I saw him in the 2016 All-Star game in San Diego, and we had a chance to catch up and talk about his career in Detroit and his career in Florida. And he said to me again how thankful he was for the 03 World Series, and he didn't realize then how hard it would be to win again. And that's something that fans around the country should know. It's just hard to win, and when you do, you want to do it again and again and again. And I hope Miguel gets another ring. He's certainly part of a rebuild in Detroit right now. Don't know that it's going to happen, but it doesn't take away the fact he's a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Well, his current contract tells us he'll be playing baseball through 2025, so plenty more dingers to come with our guy David Samson. Thank you, David. All right, taking a look at the active home run list. There is only one above him. That's Albert Pujols with 677. He homered just a couple days ago with LA, so still getting the job done, still pushing that number further forward. But Miggy still with some baseball out in front of him, now sitting on 500, hunting 3,000 hits, and adding to that number as well.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.